Well, we're good. So we're going to go ahead and and begin a brand new message today, The Content Life. I just feel like this is a great month to remember that God has blessed us so much. How can we not be thankful for what God's done? I mean, we are very blessed people. We don't realize how truly blessed we are. And this past Wednesday when our social media went live with doing the series, The Content Life, I get a message. I'm in a group message. I won't name these guys. I won't call them out by name, but I get this group message that says, seriously, could you preach to anybody else besides us this week? And so they went through this whole deal and said that, man, they think they think their wives have been sharing their journals with me. And so they think that I've been talking to their wives. And then they said, can't you preach on something that has nothing to do with us? How about preaching about serial killers? Because, that'd be great. That won't hit us. And so I don't know if this hits you or not, but hopefully it does, because I hope it hits all of us. I hope that most of us realize that we are so blessed, and so many times we focus on the wrong thing. We focus on what we don't have. And so diving into this, we're going to hit several verses today, but typically we're going to be around Philippians chapter 4, if you want to get there. But the problem, I think, what feeds into our whole idea behind why we're not happy, I think social media feeds a lot into that. I think there's always been a keeping up with the Joneses, keeping up with the Smiths mentality, but it's never been magnified like it has in the age of social media. You don't have to get out of your house to be jealous anymore. Literally, you can sit there and be frustrated about what you do and don't have. And so, there's advantages of social media, and we try to take advantage of that. We try to make our church more appealing through that. We try to, Stephanie Bernard does a fantastic job with our social media and her team. They if you ever get on Instagram or Facebook and you follow the stories, they've got a group of ladies right now that's helping. Not that we're opposed to men. We just haven't got any men who stepped up for that. But they just do a fantastic job of promoting us. They make us look like we are the best church around. I think we are, but they make us look like we are too. And so they do a great job with that. But social media has those advantages, but it has disadvantages. And because of those disadvantages, so many times we look at our own life and we think we're not enough, we don't measure up. Everybody else has a better life, a better family, a better kids, better parents, better everything, better job. And so we go through these ideas. And so I find that the more we engaged in tech and social media, the less we connect in person. We're afraid to talk to people. We used to get with our family, and our family always, I'm not talking about my direct family, I'm just saying about my family in general, my mom, my dad, and we'd get together, and then even beyond that, we would get together with my grandparents, and we'd play games. We would sit down, we'd play card games, we'd play, just every kind of board game. We'd play all these different kind of games, dominoes, everything. And in doing this, we used to engage and talk to people. Now we know what it's like. This Thanksgiving, most of the people are going to look around, and they're going to be watching a football game, and they're going to look around, and everybody's going to be on their phone. And you're going to think, glad we got together. We could do this online, it would have been cheaper. But so many things. We'll look around, we'll go to a movie. You ever watch a movie and everybody's excited to watch it, and then you look around the room and nobody's watching the movie? Yeah, we do it all the time. Ever go to dinner and look at a family, and every family around you is on their phone engaging with other people that are not with them. So the more we engage online, the less we seem to interact and engage with people right in front of us. Social media gives us the illusion of companionship without the demand of friendship. And most people are struggling and hurting so much to be connected with other people, and they want friendship. Jesus said, I don't want to get ahead of my message, but so many times we don't engage with people, and then we're frustrated that people don't engage back with us. Because of social media, contentment has never been as big of a problem as it is today. We have never seen people who have been so blessed on this earth with so many things in their life, and they feel so unblessed because of what they see online. We have never had a generation like this in history that have so much and still want so much more. The trouble with social media is people's lives come across perfect. Here's the problem. We are comparing our behind-the-scenes life with their highlight reels. You know what a highlight reel is? It's the best of everything they did. You ever watch a football highlight reel and it's like, man, look at this touchdown and touchdown and touchdown, pass, and you see everything your team does right without any of the flaws. We're looking at other people's highlight reels when they're and judging it to our behind the scenes. We know that it took us 25 shots to get the right picture. We knew that it took us a long time together to get everybody together. We know that we were fighting just a few minutes ago. We know that all this stuff, and we're looking at them and says, man, they have so much better. They're always going out. Every time I turn around, they're going to Silver Dollar City. We never go to Silver Dollar City. Why don't you ever take me to Silver Dollar City? You know? Look, everybody else is on vacation. Everybody else is having a nice vacation. We never go on vacation. You're like, let's just go to Branson. We're always at Branson. It's frustration over what we have instead of just being realized what we're blessed with. Researchers at several universities did a study over students and their feelings after being on Facebook, and more than 1/3 felt significantly worse in their emotions and in their life, and they had more envy after being on social media. And I think right here, I don't have to spend a lot of time convincing you of that. I think you know. I think I know, I think you know. And so when we think about this idea, today I want us to be very honest and expose the discontentment in our life that we've allowed to seep in and realize that God has given us the power to overcome, and realize that God has blessed us with so much, material and financial. Car the first few days, we look around, everybody else got a nicer car. Boy, they got a nicer truck, they got a nicer car. Every time they drive around, man, what do they do? Lease their cars? Every time I turn around, they got a brand new car. And why don't we ever get a new car? I've been driving the same thing over and over and over. Somebody else is getting a new house. I remember before I was sold on the idea of getting a house that we got a few years back, that Madison and Sandra were going online and finding all these houses to send me pictures. And not just pictures of houses, pictures that were nowhere in our price range. There were mansions I was just looking, I just thought you'd think it was nice. We can't afford 3 pools, a golf course, and a tent. Did you see the size of that kitchen? And then Madison was all over it, and they were so over and over and over. And I just think we get so caught up in looking at everybody else's house. Man, I wish my life was like big. When I was growing up, you were lucky if you didn't get caught watching MTV to watch Cribs. And even then, it was just every once in a while. Everybody gets online and they're always looking and comparing. We think that everybody else has got it better. We go everybody else. We just wish we could have one new pair of shoes, and our best friends got more shoes than Zappos, And so we look around, and all we want is just one pair of nice shoes, and I don't have anything nice. I look at my closet, I have nothing to wear. You faced that this morning, didn't you? You were getting ready, and you were thinking, is it going to be cold? Is it going to be hot? I don't know what to wear. I don't have any nice fall clothes. Do they even fit anymore? I don't know if they fit. And what are the colors going to be? And am I going to have to change later? I really don't know. Is it going to be cold in the sanctuary, hot in the sanctuary? I don't know. I just don't know what to wear. I don't have anything to wear. We're going to have to go shopping. My favorite thing is when I come home, because Sandra and I now come to church at the same time. But when we didn't, my favorite thing was to come home Sunday afternoon and see a pile of clothes on my bed and realize that morning was rough. You know why everybody's laughing? Because you've done it too. That's right. You've been there and you just struggle and you go through all these things. And so then the second place we realize that we're discontented is relationships. We feel like everybody's always invited to go to do something, and we're always the family that's not invited. We feel like everybody else gets to do something. We don't get to do anything. All the other kids get to go to do something together. I'm always stuck at home. All the other families get together. There's nothing for us to do. We don't have anything. Look online at everybody together, and we're not together. Have we invited anybody? Well, no, but we just want to be invited. I bet there's other people online, and they're posting things right now saying, boy, I wish somebody would invite me too. See, if y'all would get together, y'all could probably go do something. Let me just tell you this right in the middle of this message. Most of my best messages come out of my reality. So you're not alone. We all have felt this way. We've all been there. So we get there. So it looks like you ever get this place? I hear this a lot of times when everybody seems to be married and you're not married and you think you've got to hurry up and get married. And so you're wondering why everybody else your age is married and you just feel like an old person. Everybody else has got kids. You don't have kids. Everybody else is enjoying their life. We're never going to have kids, so you're always comparing your life. Then circumstances. This is the point in your life where you should be further along. I'm not as far along in life as I thought. I thought by now we'd have retirement. I thought by now that we could be able to quit. I thought by now that I would be have a job, I'd be successful. I thought by now I'd already been through school, already had my career, I'd already know what I want to do with my life. I thought I'd already be there. All these things, at this point in my life, I thought I would be so much further along, and I'm not any further than I want to be. And so you go through this. I thought we'd have this. I thought we'd have kids. I thought our kids would be this age. And you go through all these ideas, and you just wonder, why is it like this way? So here it is. Life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. That's it. Life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you respond. We tend to think the opposite's true. We tend to think that life is 90% of what happens to us and 10% how we respond. And so we respond that way. Life happens so bad. I'm hoping that through the day that we'll understand that God has given us and blessed us with so much more. It's all about the way we perceive our life. So Paul, writing in Philippians chapter 4, and for whatever reason, I've been in Philippians a lot this past month. I spoke in the youth. I spoke in the staff meeting on Philippians chapter 4. The earlier verses, I never got to this verse, 12 and 13. But I've been in Philippians for a lot this month, or last month. And so going to this month, I just figured, hey, let's just go talk about the other side. But he says this in verse 12. He says, I know how to live with almost nothing or with everything. I think he would probably say everything was better at the time, but he knows how to live with almost nothing or with everything. I've learned the secret of living in every situation, or I've learned the secret of being content whether it is with my full stomach or my empty stomach, with plenty or little. And then he goes into the most misunderstood verse, the most misquoted verse of anything, after telling us that he's learned to live in almost every situation with little, with nothing, with everything you could have, with an empty stomach, full stomach. He says the most interesting thing that we take out of context, and it's verse 13, and it says, for I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Isn't that interesting? Football players going out there saying we're going to win today. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And the other team's going out saying we can do all things through Christ. Which team does he root for? You know, I don't think God is caught up in the middle of that. I do pray for safe games and want everybody to play to the best of their ability, all that good stuff. But God doesn't care about those teams as much as we do. He cares about the individuals. He just doesn't care about the teams like we do. He doesn't care about the sports. God is not a fan over football and hates soccer. He just loves people. He just doesn't. He doesn't think like we think. He's different. And then when he gets to the end of this, Paul's saying, in fact, when you get a little earlier, and he says, don't worry about anything. Don't have anxiety. Think through all this stuff. He goes through all this idea. And then he goes, think on these things instead. And then he leads us all the way to verse 12. And he says, listen, I've learned the secret of being content. And what's the secret? That he can do everything through Christ who gives him strength. He's learned this, that it's through Christ's strength, Christ's ability, not our own ability, that gives us the ability to conquer and do what God has called us to do. That's what it is. It's not through our ability. How do you overcome worry? How do you overcome anxiety? How do you overcome the feeling of not being enough? It's through this. It's learning that my contentment is through Christ who gives me strength. That's it. That's the key to this verse. Listen, you will always battle with discontentment until you let Christ be all that you need. You will always battle with that. There will always be a battle with discontentment until you realize that Christ is all you need. When I realize that Christ is all I need, all of a sudden I can realize that I have contentment. You were made for something so much greater than this moment and these things that are around you. Until Christ is all you have, you'll never recognize Christ as all you need. You never will. You have to come to this deal. So, listen, you can get all the likes and approvals you want, but until you experience the goodness of Christ and until you experience what He is, you'll always be dissatisfied. You will always want and desire for something more. Here's what you got to understand. In your life, there is a Christ-shaped void. You were made for something bigger than this life. You were made for eternity. And we're searching for things that feel something on the inside that only Christ can feel. We see people going through life. We see people going through circumstances and situations and looking for things. They buy things. They don't even know why they're online shopping. They're late at night, they're frustrated, they're depressed, and they're buying things. They're going on Amazon, they're buying things. All this stuff comes in, they throw it in a closet or in a drawer that they never use because they never wanted to begin with. They were trying to fill a void in the moment of something they will never use. These impulse buys that we do in the moment, all because we think we've got to feel something, we got to have something, and the truth is it never feels what we really want it to on the inside, which is that Christ-shaped void that's empty. So we go through all these deaths. You were born for eternity. You have to know that. And so here it is. Through Christ's strength, we will kill comparisons. We can kill comparisons through Christ's strength. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12 says, "Oh, don't worry. We wouldn't dare say that we are as wonderful as these other men." I think King James says, we wouldn't compare ourselves to these other people who tell you how important they are. But they are only comparing themselves with each other, using themselves as a standard for a measurement. How ignorant. I think King James says stupid. You know, whatever you want to go with. Stupid, ignorant. How ignorant comparing ourselves with other people. You know that people only compare to you with what they're good at. You know? They're the standard when they're excellent in that category. They don't really want to compare themselves across the board. You know? The guy who's great at basketball and stinks at football doesn't compare himself to other football players. He goes, but I could beat you in basketball. You know? To the lady who cooks and is a phenomenal cook but doesn't know clean very well, she doesn't compare her household. She compares to how great of a cook. Listen, let's cook. I'd love to make something for you. It's all about where we're good at. We like comparing ourselves in, and that's foolish. He says that's ignorant. Don't compare yourselves just by using yourself as the standard. What is our standard? It's Christ. Jesus Christ is our standard. He's our fulfillment. We will always be discontent when we compare ourselves with ourselves or with like-minded people. There is no win in comparison. I remember I had this friend named Billy Terry. Billy was shorter than me, but he had charisma, he had zeal. Listen, girls liked him, and I always wanted to be like my best friend Billy. And so whatever Billy did, no matter how dumb, how stupid it was, I was sure to follow. If he purchased MC Hammer parachute pants, you better believe it, I did. If he said he was wearing it to school, yes, as stupid as I looked, I wore them to school. Yeah, I've seen things that other people wear too. It ain't much better, but I did it. Listen, when Billy wanted to jump off of a house of a girl to impress her in the pool, and he went from the roof and took off this big run and goes, oh, and barely missing the concrete, of course I followed. Listen, parents, if you say if your friends jumped off of a bridge, would you do it? Yes, they would. Yes. There's no common sense when you're a teenager. There's only, I cannot be outdone. If they can do it, so can I. The spirit of invincibility comes upon me, and I just know that God will protect me in my stupidity. And we do it over and over and over. When my friend did something stupid, Billy did something stupid off the water slide at a pool, I thought I could surf down the water slide. But instead of surfing down the water slide, I slipped, fell off, hit the concrete on the back, and came up. Her mama came running out and said, "So you're okay? I'm fine. Billy, you ready to go home?" Dumb, stupid stuff we do. Of course we follow it because we want to be. There's this idea of imitation because we want to compare ourselves and we want to be alike. And so we would compare ourselves to other people. We do it all the time. The problem is we think we'll outgrow it, but we don't. I no longer look at that little individual who's going around and he has girls who are writing him letters and cards. I don't do that anymore. Now I compare myself to other dads and other pastors, and I think, man, their kids are doing this and their kids are doing that. Man, I think about other people in other churches. I think, man, that church is, wow, did you see that? Wow, look at that stuff. You know what's great? Everybody else does it too. And so, well, it's not great. It's actually sad. Tonight, we're going to have people all over the place. It's going to be a big event, the Fall on the Farm. We're going to take pictures, video of it. We're going to put it on social media. And you know what people are going to say? Wow, Faith Assembly's doing a lot of stuff. I sure wish I could be like that church, man. I wish our church would do stuff like that. Because we're living on the highlight reels of other people. And nobody's real life is that good. Because goodness is not found in things. Goodness is not found in events. It's found in Christ alone. Jesus Christ is the only thing worth living for. It's Him crucified. Listen, when they hung Him and hung Him high and they strung Him wide, it was for our benefit. It was for that sacrifice when He died on the cross that we have the ability to have eternal life when we believe upon Him. The only fulfillment we'll ever find in life is in Jesus Christ. We're searching for earthly treasures, and at the end, we're finding ourselves empty. We're trying to put in our life things that only Christ can fill. James 3, verse 14 through 16 is a little bit harsh, so I hope you're ready. I understand there's a lot of boots around here for people who've had broke toes and feet. I'm sorry, Bob. But this one hurt me when I read it. So here's what it said. James chapter 3, verse 14. But if you are bitterly jealous, and there is selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth with boasting and lying. Then he goes on, he gets really harsh. He gets right down to it. First of all, he says, if you've got jealous and envy, first thing you're going to do is don't cover it up with a lot of boasting, and don't cover it up and just make it sound better than you are. And we see people do that. Don't do it by going overboard about how great you are. Nobody believes that anyway. Then he goes on, it says, for jealousy, verse 15, and selfishness is not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Wow. That was rude. You know? So me being jealous and selfish is not God's kind of wisdom. It's me being earthly minded, unspiritual, and demonic. When we go craving, we get jealous over what other people have, and we start searching to be more like everyone else and what they have, and we desire, we become so dissatisfied, we are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. Verse 16, for whether there is jealousy and selfish ambition, there you will find disorder and evil of every kind. It starts here. People, when they think everybody else has it better, when everybody in your job and their division gets more money than what you think, and we begin to have that attitude, all of a sudden, there is every kind of disorder and every kind of evil right there. They're quiet. This is a good one to be quiet on. That's okay. Don't bother me. I'd be quiet too. But the Lord already, anyway. Man. You know it's hard preaching things when you've been struggling with it too sometimes. Some of us need to take a social media break. Some of us just need to take our phones and delete Facebook, delete all the social media, delete Instagram, delete everything. For other of us, you say, well, I can't, it's my job. You know what you do? You need to unfollow people. There is no shame in unfollowing somebody. There are people that feed the wrong kind of things in your life and your nature. And let me just say this. 90% of the time, it's not them, it's you. It's how you perceive what they're posting. And it's every time they post something, it raises aggravation and frustration and all these feelings inside. Unfollow them. There are churches that have great social media. I have to unfollow because I don't need to compare myself to what God's doing there. I want to compare myself to what God is doing here. That's it. Here's the thing. People, and we get people in church that do that. They chase after every little thing and every preacher, and they go from church to church because they're looking for what some other churches got. But again, they're looking at their highlight reel. You know what? God is doing amazing things here. People are getting saved. People are getting delivered. People are breaking alcohol addiction. People are breaking drug addiction. Marriages are being put back together. We're seeing families healed. We're seeing amazing things happen here, but we're so busy chasing something bigger and better that's not real that we aren't happy with what God is doing in our own life. Some of us, you need to stop watching HGTV. I don't get on social media. I don't even like that stupid stuff. You compare yourself to everything else you see. My wife has another show she likes, and she says she watches this one just to make her feel better. Worst Cooks in America. You know? Yeah. So you watch that and you're like, you know, why do guys like blooper reels so well in sports? Because it makes us realize they're human too. That even another team can go and fake a punt and throw it to the other team. It can happen. Not mentioning any team in specifically. Maybe. Okay, I lied, I did. Here's the deal. Learning to celebrate other people's blessings. Celebrate other people's blessings. When God blesses someone, learn to celebrate them. When your friend is on vacation in Hawaii, don't get jealous. Think, man, God, I'm so thankful that they're getting a much needed break they needed. Lord, I thank you that they're getting that break. We're praying for it, that you wanted and you've been dissatisfied. What if we could just celebrate other people's blessings? What if God is asking, would you be happy if I bless them? Here's something. Being upset God bless someone else might be the reason God isn't blessing you. That's what we're saying again. Being upset, God blessing someone else might be the reason God isn't blessing you. Can't be happy with anybody else. Maybe that's the reason why. Through Christ's strength, we can cultivate a gratitude. We can cultivate gratitude in our life, a spirit of gratitude. Jealousy and envy is resisting God's goodness in other people's lives while ignoring God's goodness in our own lives. I'll say that again. Jealousy and envy is resisting God's goodness in other people's lives while ignoring God's goodness in our own lives. It's ignoring what God is doing. Proverbs 15:15 says, for the despondent, every day brings trouble. For a happy heart, life is a continual feast. Isn't that awesome? For us who are so discouraged and look so down in life, life always brings trouble. But for the person who has a happy heart, life is a continual feast. It's a festival. It's a joy. It's a celebration. I've got a friend, Mickey Malone. Is he in here right now? Good. Come on, Mickey. Caleb, can I get your mic? Mickey is my friend. He and my wife worked together for many years before Mickey had to retire because of a lot of physical things. And they come on up here to the platform. Mickey's never been on the platform, so stop looking so threatening. Okay. Mickey's comfortable in almost every place, but this is the one place he may be a little uncomfortable. So we'll see. All right, good deal. Mickey, I want you to share with the congregation some things that happened just as you were going through the surgery, and go ahead and go through that.
All right, I don't know if many of y'all know, but on September 4th, I had to go in for surgery on my neck. Well, the doctors went in through the front. Why they go in through the front to do something on the back, I'll never know. But anyway, through the surgery, something went wrong, and he paralyzed my epiglottis, which I found out later, and I couldn't swallow. So after the surgery, the doctor told me everything was fine. Well, they sent me to my room at the hospital, and that whole night, I was just deathly sick. I threw up and threw up and threw up like over 20, 30 times. Well, I stayed in the hospital for 4 days, completely lost everything inside me, threw up all of my stomach acid, and it just got violent. I mean, just violent throwing up. And the doctor came in on Saturday morning. He said, well, we're going to go ahead and send you home. And I said, but I haven't had anything to eat or drink in 4 days. He said, you'll either heal up or you won't. That's the VA for you. I'm a veteran. So they sent me home on Saturday, and for the next 3 or 4 days, it just got worse and worse. It felt like you had barbed wire just pulling up out of my stomach every time I threw up. Finally threw up over 100 times, lost everything in me to where I started throwing up blood. And I know a lot of y'all prayed for me, and I appreciate that. If you ever don't think your prayers matter, you're looking at what your prayers have done, because I don't know if my prayers for myself did the job, but all of y'all's prayers, I believe, saved my life. This went on for several days. Had the surgery on September 4th. On September 15th, I never will forget that day. It was the 11th day after my surgery. And the day 11 stands in my mind because I'm an ex-soldier, and 9/11 is real important to me, so the 11th day is important. On September 15th, it got so bad that I took my pillow and slept by my front door with my hand on the glass door. In case I died, my neighbors would be able to see me laying by the front door. And I laid there all day just praying to God, God, just take me home. I went 11 days without a drop of water. They say you can only go 3 days with nothing to drink. Well, that's a lie. I went 11 days. Had nothing going down my throat. Couldn't eat, couldn't drink. So all that day and all that evening, I just laid by the front door and prayed. And I said, God, look, you say you're not going to put more on us than we can handle. Well, I've had all I can handle. Just take me home. And 11:30 that night, I had prayed my heart out. I was just through praying. I happened to look up on my big picture window by my dining room table, and I had this 3-foot by 5-foot flag of Donald Trump on my window. Brian and them seen it. And it's a flag that I'm not real proud of now, but at the time I was. It's like Trump for 2020, no more bull, and it had another word past the bull I'm not going to say. And Brian had talked to me about that before. But anyway, I remember laying there, and I looked at that flag, and I thought, well, if I die tonight, they're going to know I'm a huge Trump supporter. So I laid my head on the pillow, and I looked on my front door, and I have this little plaque with Psalms 119 on it. And I thought, well, at least they'll know I'm a Christian too. And it was like a mule kicked me in my forehead, literally. I felt a kick, and I thought, what have I been doing? I've got this huge flag of Trump, and they're going to know I'm a huge Trump supporter, but at least they'll know I'm a Christian. I thought, I've got something turned around backwards here. I said, God, give me the strength, please, to do what I'm fixing to do. I got up, I tore that Trump flag down, I tore it up into pieces, and I thought, what else in my house is displeasing God? And about 3 years ago, I went on a cruise, and I had this bottle of rum in my kitchen cabinet. I don't drink. It's been in there for 3 years. I've never touched it. But I thought, I've got stuff in my house that may not be pleasing to God. So I went in the kitchen, I cleaned out the rum, and I had a bottle of moonshine that my uncle gave me 3 years ago. I've never touched that. But I poured it all down the drain and threw it in the garbage. And I thought, what else do I have? So I went in my bedroom, got all my movies out, and one of my favorite movies is Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. But I remembered it had some nudity in it. So I took any movie that may offend God, I threw it out in my fire pit, poured lighter fluid on it, and I set it on fire. I went back in there, and I got my pillow, and I laid down by the front door, and I just prayed. And I said, God, I'm clean. I've lived a good life since I've given my life to Christ, since I got baptized in the Buffalo River with Brian, and he didn't drown me. I said, my house is clean now. I said, I've rebuked the devil. I'm living my life for you. I said, now's the perfect time, God. I said, please, I can't take this no more. Just take me home. I said, I love my family at church, but I can't go another day without drinking or eating. And I just laid my head back. And folks, I want y'all to know, if I've ever told the truth in my life, what I'm about to say is the truth. My dog was laying there with her head on my arm. She raised her head up and looked around, and I heard something go drink, son. And I thought, okay, Mickey, you're losing your freaking mind now. What's going on? And I heard it again. It said, go drink, son. And I said, God, if that's you, I said, I'm going to listen to you, but I know what it's going to feel like. Because every time I had tried to drink, it was like razor blades being pulled up out of my stomach. So I went in the kitchen, opened up the refrigerator door. Everybody that had been coming over to my house had brought me Sprite, 7-Up, Hawaiian Punch, a Pedialyte. You name it, it was in my refrigerator. The thing I saw most was these little bottles of Sunny Delight orange juice. And Sandra and anybody can tell you, when you have nothing in your stomach, orange juice is the worst thing you can drink. But it looked appealing. So I took one, and I took a sip. And I waited, because I thought, one sip and I'm going to die. Well, nothing happened. So I took another sip. It went down, nothing happened. So I was like, drink that whole little bottle down. And I was like, oh, my God. So I got another one out, and I drank that. Got another one out. I drank 4 bottles of Sunny Delight orange juice. And I thought, if I'm not dying now, then everybody's prayers has worked, and God's going to spare me. Well, I didn't know what he was saving me for, but I went back and I laid down and I said, God, thank you. I said, I will live my life 100% with you being first, and Trump or nobody else will come before you ever again. Well, I went for 3.5, 4 weeks. I still couldn't eat, but I was drinking. I was getting stuff down, chicken broth, vegetable broth. And I didn't know why God was keeping me hanging on. I mean, I was still starving to death. I lost 48 pounds in 4 weeks. And finally, through all the VA doctors getting their stuff straight, they got me an appointment at the hospital. Well, there's a young lady in here. I had a hole in my throat. I don't know if anybody ever got to see it. It was nasty. I had a big hole in my throat where it had busted open where they'd done the surgery. And the doctor that did the surgery, I called him about it. He said, I just spray it with peroxide, it'll heal up. Worst thing you can do. So Megan over there, she works at the hospital. They started taking care of my throat, and they've got it healed now. And then about 2 weeks after that, I started seeing a speech therapist at the hospital, Lindsay. She comes here now. And one day she was working with me, and she just happened to mention that her and her husband were looking for a church to go to. And I said, why don't you come to Harrison Faith? I said, we got a great group of people. I said, they have prayed me through death. I said, I was close to dying, and I said, and their prayers have brought me back. I said, we'd love to have you. Her and her husband came to church. They liked it. She went out to ladies' night out. And I remember that night when I found out that she had gone to ladies' night, I thought, well, maybe that's why God didn't let me die. Maybe I've got a purpose on this earth to invite people to his house to worship him. And I just want y'all to know that the devil will try to get at you 1,000,003 ways. But through prayer and through love and through belief in Jesus Christ, I'm up here today because not only did I pray, but every one of y'all prayed for me. And I want y'all to know that if you ever think, what's the use of praying? Just look at old Mickey and say, that's the use of praying, because if God will save him because of our prayers, he'll save a lot of people. So I want y'all to know I love y'all. And I'm up here today to tell you, if anybody in God's house right here now, or anybody else, if y'all ever are in a situation where you need somebody to pray for you or to come do for you or whatever, I'm an open door to anybody now. So I'm here if y'all need me. I love y'all.
Amen. Great job. You give it to Caleb. Amen. Great job, Mickey. One day I'm going to have Mickey give his whole testimony up here. Mickey will tell you he was unsaved. He was an uncircumcised Philistine. But he really, really lived a wild life. But what God did in his life, when he got saved, he is saved. And I nicknamed him Clutch, because anytime I can't get something done, I need something done last minute, I call Mickey up and he comes through in a clutch. And but you know what? Mickey found something better. He found out that God is his clutch. And when you are in a bad situation, he found out that when God is all you have, when Jesus is all you have, he's really all that you need. So as we close, let me just tell you a few things. Solomon, the richest man in his time, really of all time, said this in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, verse 9. He says, enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Simple wisdom. Enjoy what you have. Enjoy what God has given you instead of longing for what you don't have. Be thankful that God has given you what he's given you instead of looking around and saying, what else could I have? The next time you're tempted to say that, my stupid car. What if you stop and say, God, thank you for giving me a car that runs, that gets me to work, that gets me where I have to go. Lord, I'm thankful for what you've given me. Instead of thinking, I wish I had a bigger house, Lord, I'm thankful that I have a roof over my head. And when it rains and when it snows and when the storms come, God, there's something that's going to keep me safe. Lord, I'm thankful, Lord. I'm thankful for what you've already done in my life. Instead of thinking my life is so crazy, say, Lord, I thank you for my kids. God, thank you for my husband. Thank you for my wife. God, thank you, Lord, that I get to be in their life when other people wish they could be in touch with their estranged family. Lord, I'm thankful that I have a crazy life, that I get to live with my wonderful family. You don't like your job? Be thankful. Lord, I'm thankful for the job I do have. I'm thankful that it takes care of me, Lord. I'm thankful when I don't know what else I can do, Lord, I can turn to you. Lord, you're my provider. Then in Philippians chapter 4, we can say these words, I have learned the secret of living in every situation because I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. It's through Christ's power that we can kill comparison and we can live and have an attitude and cultivate a heart of gratitude. So here's the deal. Nothing matters without Christ. In this place, there are some of you today, and you are struggling, and you are struggling. And I just wonder, if you understood that really everything we're searching for can't be found in things, that it can only be found in a relationship with Jesus Christ. You need to hear these words today because you think that you've been at church. I come to church every week. Listen, coming to church is not having a relationship. Coming to church will never fill the void. Man, it's a start. It's a pathway. It's something to get you going in the right direction. It's to encourage you on your walk. But coming in this building and listening to amazing worship and having these altar workers pray for you every week is not enough. There has to be a relationship. It's giving my life to Jesus Christ and following him as my Lord and my Savior forever and ever and ever. Amen. Nothing else matters but my relationship with Christ. That's it. All this other stuff is circumstantial. Man, I pray that the Lord would bless you, but you're going to find out that money and things and blessings will never buy you happiness. Because you see, the richest man in the world, they're still looking for it. But today, you can have that. And so I'm going to ask everybody to stand, and I'm going to ask you these questions. Mickey said something so key in his testimony, and it's simply this. I looked around and I said, God, if there's anything that's in front of you, I looked around and said, Lord, I don't want people to know that I'm a big Trump supporter. I don't want people to know that I'm this. I want people to know that I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I want people to know that I'm a Christian. Let me tell you, if you're here today and you're in this place and you've put anything in your life before Christ, then you are not living like you should. Growing up, we used to use this terminology, and we don't hear it a lot anymore, but backsliding. Backsliding doesn't mean you started at the front pew and you wound up in the back pew. Backsliding means I was on a journey with Christ, and all of a sudden I'm not where I was, and he's a lot further along ahead of me than I used to be. And so I've slid back in my relationship. But you know what's so amazing is when we ask, he stops and he waits on us and he comes to us, because he never moves away from us. We move away from him. So whether you talk about rededicating your life, whatever that message is, if you have anything that is in the chair, in the crown room of your throne of your heart, and you're following it and everything else is secondary, there's something wrong. Jesus Christ needs and has to be number one in our life. It's amazing to me, and I'm taking a little longer, but I want you to hear this. It's amazing to me how many people say Jesus Christ is number one in my life, but you miss church, you miss things, and you search that almighty dollar, and if you ask your family, they would say you love your job more than them. Some people would say you love sports more than them. You love other things more than them. What do you love more than Christ? If there's anything that's between you and your relationship, you're never going to find contentment until he's number one and Lord on your throne. So I'm going to pray for you. And if you've never had a relationship with Christ, or whether you've been walking, but you have fallen back and you're like, you know what, I used to be so close in my walk, but I've allowed other things, and now I'm so discontent, and I'm just not where I want to be. I want to give you an opportunity to come up here. We're going to pray with you. Our team's going to come up here and pray with you, and we're going to believe and trust God with you to restore right relationship or begin one today. Father, Lord, I pray for each and every person here. Lord, your presence was in here from the very first song, Lord, till the time we walked up all through this message. Lord, I can feel it. Your anointing is all over this place, and it's drawing people to you. Lord, you said if you'd be lifted up, you draw all people unto you. Lord, I feel your presence, and we lift you up above all things in here. And Lord, we know that the secret of contentment is relationship with the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So Lord, as I'm praying that people are feeling drawn today. And as they're feeling drawn, they're going to answer the call. They're going to step out. They're going to come and rededicate themselves. And for some, for the very first time, they're going to come to know what it's like to walk in a true relationship with Jesus Christ. In Jesus' name, amen. If that's you, these altars open, just come and stand. If you need to kneel, there's altars on both sides over here. You can kneel on the front pew, you can stand. But if you would like to reestablish a relationship with Christ, you just feel like you're not where you need to be, I want to invite you to come at this time. Altar workers are coming. People are coming to pray with you. You won't be alone. I promise you, just make your way to the front. We're going to join you today. We're going to pray with you today. You don't have to live the same way. You can live a joy-filled life by just trusting and following after Jesus today. These altars are open. Come find your spot. Come find your place today. Pastor Caleb and the worship team is going to lead us in worship, and as they do, find your place. Come and pray. If you just need a touch in your body, don't be afraid. We will pray with you. We will trust God for your life, and we will believe for God for complete healing, touch, and a turnaround today.